You're putting in the hours, you're grinding, and yet your goals keep moving further and further away. You've tried all the morning routines, you've tried focused apps, you've tried planners, you've tried the just push through mentality, and yet nothing seems to work. Here's the thing, the problem isn't your effort. The problem is that your brain is running at 20% capacity. And in this video, I'll be discussing how you can unlock the other 80% to make deep focus effortless so you can crush your goals and get done what you gotta get done. First things first, let me ask you something. When you sit down and try to get the important, focused work done, how many things do you have trying to pull at your attention? And I'm not just talking about notifications. I'm talking about the mental noise within your mind. These are the thoughts and worries that you have racing through your head 24/7 about things you gotta do, about something you did last week or something you forgot to do. It could be the email you never sent. It could be the conversation you never had. It could be the problem with your plumbing that you never got fixed. Each one of these things is like a mental tab. And just like how your browser slows down when you have all these tabs open, it's the same with your brain. When you're unconsciously trying to manage all these unfinished open loops, then you don't function at your best. And this isn't a focus problem. This is a discipline problem. In fact, it's mental obesity. Just as your body stores excess calories as fat, your mind stores excess information as cognitive fat, and this slows you down. You see, we're living in this world where there are infinite inputs. There is infinite amount of information at our disposal 24/7, and our brains were never built for this. And just like how physical obesity makes movement more difficult, mental obesity makes focus more difficult. In 1927, a Lithuanian psychologist named Zeigarnik came up with her theory. She noticed that waiters at a restaurant could remember all the details of a very complicated order. But then once that order was submitted to the cooks, they would forget about it. This became known as the Zeigarnik Effect. And how this ties into you is that your brain remembers unfinished tasks way more than finished tasks. So all the information that we take in on a day-to-day basis just stays up in our mind, and we remember all those stupid, minute details that we really don't need to know. And unconsciously, your brain latches onto this information. Now, in past times, this wouldn't be that big of a deal. But since we're living in this very complicated digital age with endless information, it's a very difficult problem. Because you're exposed to more information in a single day than most people 400 years ago were exposed to in their entire lifetime. Subconsciously, your brain is worrying about emails, text messages, the weather report, what your favorite influencer said online, and so many other things, while you're still trying to build your business or work your job or take care of your family and build these relationships with other people within your life. Just take a moment right now to think about it. How many unfinished tasks or how many bits of information that you haven't fully attended to do you have in your mind right now? If you're like most high performers that I've worked with, then it's somewhere between 20 and 50 different things. And every bit of information or unfinished task is a tax on your attention. It's stealing your focus, it's draining your energy. And you might not be consciously aware of it, but it happens all the time. This is why you're exhausted by 2 p.m., it's why you can't think clearly when it matters most, and it's why you're working harder than ever before, but it feels like you're running in quicksand. It's not because you're lazy, and it's not because you lack intelligence. Your brain is simply full. And this is why the apps or the morning routines or using planners doesn't work like you thought it would. Because you can't optimize a system that's overloaded. You have to close the mental tabs first. Psychologist George Miller found that the average person can hold 5 to 9 bits of information in their working memory. But most of us are trying to hold way more than this. And as a result, it's actually destroying our memories. It's destroying our attention spans. And when this happens, you can't think clearly. When you can't think clearly, you can't perform at your very best. Along with this, whenever you switch from one task to another task, trying to get more things done and be more productive, you actually experience a cognitive decline. Researchers have found that when you go from one task to another task and then back to the original task, it takes your brain up to 23 minutes before it returns to deep focus. And if you're going from one task to another all day, then your ability to focus is slowly but surely decreasing. This also happens when you're interrupted. But the thing is, most of your interruptions are not external, they're internal. There are those mental tabs popping up within your consciousness. Did I respond to that email? What's the status of that project? Should I have said something different in that meeting? Each one pulls you out of the present moment. Each one fragments your attention. Each one makes it impossible to enter flow that state of mind where you're so absorbed in the work that time seems to disappear. So as you can see, you don't need to optimize your productivity systems. You need to reduce your cognitive load. You need to close those mental tabs. So here's exactly what you can do. Here is the 3-step protocol. And if you do this before your deep work sessions, then you'll very easily access that deep focus state that you didn't even think was possible. Step number 1 is to brain dump everything. You want to get a piece of paper or even just a blank document and just write down everything that's on your mind right now. It doesn't need to be organized or categorized in a certain way. Just raw, unfiltered, stream of consciousness writing. What you're doing here is you're closing those Zeigarnik loops. You're taking everything your brain is trying to remember and you're externalizing it. By writing it down or typing it out on the computer, you're taking it from your mind and putting it into the physical world. You're essentially telling your brain, okay, I've got this. I remember what I gotta do and I'll take care of it. The moment you write things down, your brain releases it and that mental tab closes. So do this for 5, maybe 10 minutes and immediately see how clear your mind becomes. Step number 2 is define your highest leverage task. Now that all that mental noise is cleared, you want to figure out exactly what it is that will propel you forward the most. Not your whole to-do list, not some simple busy work that makes you look good, but it's that one thing that if you really spent focused time on, will really help you moving forward. Think of this as the 20% that'll get you 80% of the results you're after. And if you can't figure out what this task is, ask yourself this one question. If I could only accomplish one thing today, what would make the biggest impact? Remember, your goal isn't to be busy. Your goal is to be effective. There's a big difference. Step number 3 is to clarify the first few actions. So now that you've gained clarity and identified what that highest leverage task is, break it down. Figure out those 2 to 3 stupidly simple momentum building actions you can take right now. You don't need to plan out the entire project. Your goal here is removing all of the friction from taking action. Your brain doesn't like ambiguity. It prefers specificity. If your first steps are unclear, then you'll procrastinate. And when you procrastinate, then nothing gets done at all. But if your first steps are crystal clear, then you can begin. And once you begin, momentum's on your side. This works because you're no longer facing this giant mountain of things you gotta do. Just the first step. And your brain, since you've closed all those mental tabs, now has all the tools and the resources it needs to make that first step. Once you can clear all the mental noise, identify your highest leverage task, and identify those first few steps with that high leverage task, focusing becomes so easy. Your cognitive load drops, your working memory suddenly has space, and into that space flows focus. And with that focus comes flow. That state of mind where time disappears and you are one with the task. Flow doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from removing those unnecessary obstacles so you can think clearly. You're not achieving focus, but you're allowing focus by removing all that extra clutter. If you run this protocol every single day, your ability to focus and get things done will be off the charts. Because remember, your internal state drives your external results. When you can master your mental operating system and close all those tabs, deep focus becomes seamless. And in these moments, you're working with your brain instead of against it. You don't need another productivity hack to focus. You need internal clarity. So close those mental tabs because your best work is waiting on the other side. Thank you very much for watching. If you made it this far, be sure to like the video and subscribe for more just like this. And if you know somebody who's really struggling to focus or they really struggle getting things done that they said they wanted to get done, then share this video with them. More than likely, they've been convinced that they need another productivity system or that they need this planner or this CEO morning routine, but in reality, they just need to clear the internal noise within their mind. And this protocol here, well, it's worked for me and it's worked for countless others. So I'm sure it'll work for you and them. Alrighty then, I will see you in the next video. Bye.